Oh, drat these computers. They're so naughty and so complex. I could pinch them.
What's up, everyone, and welcome. Today, we core grapple.
Yeah! Grab like a toilet seat, Tommy!
No!
Pegasus Spyware uses iPhone zero-click iMessage 0-day. A never-before-seen zero-click iMessaging exploit has been allegedly used to illegally spy on Bahrain activists with NSO Group's Pegasus Spyware, according to cybersecurity watchdog Citizen Lab. The digital researchers are calling the new iMessaging exploit forced entry. In a report published on Tuesday, researchers said that they've identified 9 Bahraini activists whose iPhones were inflicted with Pegasus spyware between June 20th and February 2020. Some of the activists' phones suffered zero-click iMessage attacks that, besides forced entry, also included the 2020 KISMET exploit. Activists included 3 members of WAD, a secular Bahraini political society, 3 members of the Bahrain Center for Human Rights, 2 exiled Bahraini dissidents, and 1 member of the Al-Wafaq, a Shiite Bahraini political society, Citizen Lab wrote. At least one of the activists lived in London when the exploit was unleashed, Citizen Lab said. That's a new twist, given that researchers have only seen the Bahraini government spying in Bahrain and Qatar, and never in Europe. It could mean that the activist in London may have been hacked by a Pegasus operator associated with a different government. At least 4 of the targets were attacked by Lulu, a Pegasus operator that Citizen Lab attributes with high confidence to the Bahraini government, which has a history of using commercially available spyware. Now, Citizen Lab first observed NSO Group deploying the new zero-click forced entry iMessage exploit, which circumvented Apple's BlastDoor feature in February 2021. Apple had just introduced BlastDoor, a structural improvement in the iOS 14 meant to block message-based zero-click exploits like this one. They just deployed it the month before. BlastDoor was supposed to prevent this type of Pegasus attack by acting as what Google Project Zero's Samuel Gross called a tightly sandboxed service responsible for almost all of the parsing of untrusted data in iMessages. So much for all that. We saw the forced entry exploit successfully deployed against iOS versions 14.4 and 14.6 as a 0-day, Citizen Lab said. With the consent of targets, we share these crash logs and some additional phone logs related to KISMET and forced entry with Apple Incorporated, which confirmed they're investigating. Now, Ivan Kristic, head of the Apple Security Engineering and Architecture, told ThreatPost on Tuesday that attacks such as the ones described by Citizen Lab are highly targeted and thus nothing to worry about, for most people at any rate. In a statement, Kristic said that such attacks are highly sophisticated, cost millions of dollars to develop, and often have a short shelf life, and are used to target specific individuals. As such, they're not a threat to the overwhelming majority of our users, Kristic wrote, although Apple continues to try to protect all of its customers, and it's constantly adding new protections for their devices and data. Another Apple spokesperson noted to ThreatPost that BlastDoor isn't the end-all be-all when it comes to being securing iMessage, that Apple was significantly boosting defenses in iOS 15 and will continue to do so. Security is, after all, a dynamic process, and Apple is constantly working to respond to new threats as they emerge, the spokesperson said. Now, here's my issue with that. BlastDoor is not the end-all be-all. It was specifically designed to deal with this type of thing, and it failed miserably. And your response is, BlastDoor is not the end-all be-all for security? Okay. Another issue I have with this is, if you look back, computers used to be the size of factory buildings. Now they sit in your pocket, or on your wrist, or in your body, like keeping your heart pumping. Think about how difficult it was 10 years ago to build a complex enterprise system with bare metal servers, and routers, and load balancers, and all. Now we're working in the cloud with infrastructure as code, spinning up and spinning down, and zipping sideways, and expanding entire infrastructures in minutes. Once a system has been developed, it can be easily copied and improved. So this, in fact, is what brings down the costs in anything we have done since the Industrial Revolution. So just because today it costs millions to develop this kind of attack does not mean that in 3 months, threat actors won't spit out 1, 2, 5, 10 cheap variants that infect peoples in mass, like entire countries of people mass size. I think Apple's being extremely cocky here, and this statement could come back to bite Ivan Kristic right in his rear apple. Now, besides Apple's iMessage, NSO Group has a track record of exploiting other messaging apps such as WhatsApp in order to deliver its malware. So let's be fair, it's across the industry. Still, Citizen Lab thinks that in this particular case, with these particular attacks, disabling iMessage and FaceTime might have thwarted the threat actors. Disabling iMessage and FaceTime would not offer complete protection from zero-click attacks or spyware because it can come through other messaging apps. Plus, it has trade-offs. Disabling iMessage means that messages exchanged via Apple's built-in Messages app would not be sent, or would be sent unencrypted. In other words, green messages instead of the blue messages, making them trivial for any attacker to intercept, according to the report. Of course, there are other end-to-end encrypted messaging apps to consider when it comes to minimizing your attack surface, and those would be apps that are specifically built from the ground up to deal with security. Now, Taylor Guller, senior application security consultant at app security provider Nivisium, told ThreatPost on Tuesday that disabling widely used methods of communication can at least force attackers to jump through more hoops, given that it forces them to invest more time and effort into discovering new exploits for the avenues that remain. To minimize attack surface via messaging, that means limiting the number of messaging apps installed, only accepting messages from known contacts, and preventing those messages received from automatically fetching media. Gully noted all of these act as additional barriers between you and a malicious message. Gully pointed out that there have been a number of vulnerabilities in recent years for both iOS and Android messaging apps. Just because I focused on Apple does not mean you're getting off the hook here, Andy. Hank Schless, senior manager of security solutions at Endpoint to cloud security company Lookout, noted that there's an Android version of Pegasus known as Chrysaor. Uncovered in 2017 by Lookout and Google, it has almost the exact same capabilities on Android as Pegasus does on iOS, Schless said, including gaining root access to the target device and being able to read anything on the device even if it's in an app with encrypted messaging. Chrysaor differs from Pegasus in that it doesn't rely on zero-day vulnerabilities in order to infect the device, Schless said in an email. Rather, it relies on a well-known rooting technique called Framaroot. Still, the attack chains of both Pegasus and Chrysaor are the same. The attacker sends the targeted individual a socially engineered message across any platform with messaging capabilities and silently delivers the vicious surveillanceware to the device. Unfortunately, this means that targets are at risk regardless of the operating system their device runs on. It also means that almost no data is saved since root access to a device gives the attacker control and access to everything. So, there you have it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe and smash the bell. And I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Don't forget to ride.